You think you can buy everything and everyone with your dirty money, but I'd rather starve than accept a single cent from you, you arrogant jerk. The words still echoed in my ears when the ice-cold water hit me full force. Each drop running down my $3,000 Armani suit seemed to carry the weight of my own arrogance being thrown back in my face. I stood there like an idiot, dripping water in the middle of that humble coffee shop, while everyone present stared at me. Some laughing discreetly, others shocked. But the worst part? The absolute worst was her look. There was no triumph, no satisfaction, just disappointment. As if I were the biggest disappointment she had ever seen. That hurt more than any cold water ever could. My name is Richard Crawford, but everyone calls me Rick. At 32 years old, I built a real estate empire worth over $200 million. I've never heard a no that I couldn't turn into a yes with the right amount. Women? Please. They used to line up to get 5 minutes of my attention. I am, the kind of man that fathers warn their daughters about, but they seek out anyway, until that damned Tuesday. I was in Maplewood, a pathetic little town 2 hours from Manhattan, checking out a property I planned to demolish to build a luxury apartment complex. The place was a graveyard of American dreams, old houses, barely surviving shops, simple people living simple lives. In short, wasted potential. That's when I saw her. She was outside a faded coffee shop called Sweet Moments, struggling with supply boxes that were obviously too heavy. Messy brown hair tied in a disheveled ponytail, apron stained with flour. And yet, there was something. Something that made me stop the Porsche and get out. Need help? I offered, my most charming smile in place. She barely looked at me. I'm fine, thanks. Nobody dismisses Richard Crawford. I grabbed one of the boxes anyway. I insist. Where does this go? I said I'm fine. She pulled the box back, her green eyes finally meeting mine. And man, what eyes. Intense, defiant, completely uninterested in me. This was new. I helped anyway, because I'm stubborn, not a gentleman. Make no mistake. Inside the coffee shop, I discovered she was the owner, Kate Brewster, 28 years old, a smile that would melt glaciers if it weren't so rarely directed at me, and completely immune to my charm. I tried to chat. She was polite, but cold. I tried to impress by casually mentioning my business. She wasn't impressed. I tried to pay for my coffee with a $100 bill for a $3 tab and said, "Keep the change." She gave me back $97 with a look that could freeze hell. Then I made my fatal mistake. "Look," I said, leaning on the counter with my usual confidence. "You seem like a smart woman. I'm buying several properties here in Maplewood. This place," I made a dismissive gesture, "is clearly struggling. I'll make you a generous offer. $200,000 for the property. It's more than it's worth, trust me. You can start over somewhere else, somewhere better." Her face went through several emotions, surprise, anger, and then that devastating disappointment. "You," she began, her voice dangerously low. "You come in here, accept my hospitality, drink my coffee, and then have the audacity to tell me that my dream, the business I built from scratch, my grandmother's legacy, is worth nothing. That's not what You think you can buy everything and everyone with your dirty money, but I'd rather starve than accept a single cent from you, you arrogant jerk." And then came the bucket. Water, ice, reality. Now, driving back to Manhattan, still wet and furious, a single truth hammered in my head. Kate Brewster just made the biggest mistake of her life. Nobody humiliates Richard Crawford and gets away with it. She's going to regret this. I'll make sure of it. 3 days later, I was still furious. My assistant, Jennifer, kept throwing worried glances my way as I paced my corner office on the 42nd floor. The Manhattan skyline stretched before me, a concrete reminder of everything I'd conquered. Everything except one stubborn coffee shop owner with fire in her eyes and ice water in her bucket. "Mr. Crawford, the Patterson contract is ready for your signature," Jennifer ventured carefully. Who does she think she is? I muttered, ignoring her completely. Sir? Nobody talks to me like that. Nobody. I spun around, my mind racing. Jennifer, I need everything you can find on Maplewood. Property records, tax assessments, business licenses, everything. Jennifer's fingers flew across her tablet. Maplewood, New York. Population 347. Main Street businesses include Sweet Moments Cafe, owned by Catherine Ann Brewster, age 28. She inherited the property from her grandmother, Eleanor Brewster, who passed away 18 months ago. The business has been in the family for 43 years. 43 years. A legacy. And I'd offered to erase it like it meant nothing. No. Stop that. I wasn't going to feel guilty. She humiliated me. In public. I was simply going to teach her a lesson about respect. What else? I demanded. The cafe is struggling, sir. Property taxes are 2 months overdue. There's a small business loan in default. It appears Miss Brewster is barely keeping the lights on. Jennifer paused. Sir, if I may ask, why are we... Because I said so. I grabbed my jacket. Clear my schedule for tomorrow. I'm going back to Maplewood. You're... going back? To the town where nothing, I cut her off. Just do it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Kate's face. The way her jaw had set when I made my offer. The trembling in her hands that she'd tried to hide. She wasn't just angry, she was hurt. Deeply hurt. And I'd done that. No. She did it to herself by refusing a perfectly reasonable offer. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Darling, lunch on Sunday? I miss you. I ignored it. My mother was another problem entirely. Patricia Crawford, Manhattan socialite, who'd been trying to marry me off to eligible heiresses since I turned 30. You need someone suitable, Richard. Someone from our world. Someone boring, she meant. Someone who wouldn't challenge me. Someone nothing like Kate Brewster. Why was I thinking about her again? The next morning, I drove back to Maplewood. This time, I dressed down. Jeans, a simple button-down, no Porsche. I borrowed Jennifer's Honda Civic, which she found hilarious and deeply concerning. Are you having a breakdown, sir? She'd asked. I'm having a strategy, I'd replied. Maplewood looked different in the morning light, less pathetic, more charming. The old brick buildings had character. The people walking down Main Street actually smiled at each other. A kid rode by on a bicycle, his dog running alongside. When was the last time I'd seen a kid ride a bike in Manhattan? I parked 3 blocks from Sweet Moments and walked. Through the window I could see Kate behind the counter, her hair still in that messy ponytail, flour on her cheek as she laughed at something an elderly customer said. The sound of her laughter drifted through the door. It did something weird to my chest. I pushed the feeling away and entered. The bell above the door chimed. Kate looked up, and her smile died instantly. "You've got to be kidding me," she said flatly. The elderly customer turned to look at me, then back at Kate with raised eyebrows. "Mrs. Henderson, this is nobody," Kate said pointedly. "Can I get you anything else?" "Oh no, dear, I'm fine." Mrs. Henderson gathered her purse with interest, clearly written on her face. "I'll see you tomorrow for our book club meeting." Once the door closed behind her, Kate crossed her arms. "I thought I made myself clear. You're not welcome here." "I came to apologize," I said. That threw her. Her arms dropped slightly. "What?" I was rude. Insensitive. The words felt foreign in my mouth, but I forced them out. "I shouldn't have insulted your business." "Your business," I emphasized, watching her face carefully. Was I doing this right? Apologizing wasn't exactly my forte. Kate stared at me for a long moment. "Is this some kind of game?" "No game, just an apology." I slid onto a stool at the counter. "And maybe a cup of coffee. I'll even pay the correct amount this time." "I don't trust you." "Smart woman." I met her eyes. "But I'm genuinely sorry. That's the truth." She studied me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. Finally, she sighed and grabbed a mug. 1 coffee, then you leave. Deal. As she poured, I noticed the tiredness around her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. Jennifer's words echoed, barely keeping the lights on. "How long have you been running this place alone?" I asked quietly. Her hand stilled. "That's none of your business. Kate, it's Miss Brewster to you." "Miss Brewster," I corrected. "I'm just making conversation." "I don't want your conversation. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you except for you to drink that coffee and leave." She set the mug down hard enough that some sloshed over the rim. "My grandmother built this place with her own 2 hands. She served this community for over 40 years. When she got sick, I quit my job in Boston to come take care of her. She left me this cafe because she knew I'd protect it. From people like me," I finished. "From people exactly like you." Her green eyes flashed. "People who see dollar signs instead of dreams. Who think everything has a price. Everything does have a price. Then you're even more pathetic than I thought." She turned away, busying herself with cleaning the already clean counter. I should have been angry. Should have left. Should have called my lawyers and started the process of buying up every property around hers until she had no choice but to sell. Instead, I found myself asking, "What's your price then? Not in money. What would it take for you to trust that I'm not the villain here?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You are the villain. You're exactly the kind of person who destroys towns like this. You come in, throw money around, tear down history, and build soulless buildings that nobody who actually lives here can afford. Then you leave and count your profits while communities die." Every word hit like a punch, because she wasn't wrong. That was exactly what I did. What I'd always done. "I'm not asking you to like me," I said carefully. "But maybe you could show me why this place matters so much. Help me understand. Why would I do that? Good question. Because if you don't, I'll never understand, and I'll keep being the villain." Kate turned back to me, her expression unreadable. "You really want to understand? Fine. Be here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Don't be late." 6 a.m.? For what? "You want to learn? Then you'll work. Minimum wage. 1 week." A challenging smile played at her lips. "Think you can handle that, Mr. Crawford?" I should say no. This was ridiculous. I didn't work for anyone, certainly not for minimum wage in a failing coffee shop. But the way she was looking at me, like she'd already won, like she knew I'd refuse. 1 week, I agreed. But fair warning, I'm a terrible baker. "Oh, I'm counting on it." Her smile turned genuine for just a second, and it was like the sun coming out. I was definitely going to regret this. Or maybe she was. Either way, this was about to get interesting. I arrived at 5:58 a.m., which I considered a personal victory. Kate was already inside, the warm glow of the cafe lights spilling onto the dark street. Through the window, I watched her move with practiced efficiency, pulling trays from the oven, her face flushed from the heat. When I knocked, she looked up with barely concealed surprise. "You actually came," she said, unlocking the door. "I'm a man of my word." "We'll see about that." She handed me an apron, a pink one, with ruffles. "You're joking." It was my grandmother's. Consider it an honor. The smirk on her face told me she considered it payback. I tied it on, feeling absolutely ridiculous. If anyone from my office could see me now. What's first? First, coffee. I don't function before caffeine. She poured 2 mugs, and we stood there in the pre-dawn quiet, the only sound the hum of the ovens. Second, you're going to learn to make muffins. How hard can it be? 30 minutes later, I had my answer. Very hard. No, you can't just dump everything in at once. Kate snatched the bowl from my hands. Baking is chemistry. You have to follow the recipe exactly. I'm more of an improviser. That explains so much about you. She demonstrated the proper technique, her hands moving with confidence. See? Gentle folds. You're not mixing concrete. I tried again. This time the batter looked slightly less like a disaster. Better, she admitted grudgingly. Now fill the tins. Each one should be 2/3 full. I grabbed the bowl and started pouring directly. Wait, you need a scoop. You're going to... Too late. Batter splattered everywhere. On the counter, on my apron, on Kate's cheek. We both froze. Without thinking, I reached out and wiped the batter from her face with my thumb. Her skin was soft and warm, and for a moment, we just stood there, too close, her breath catching. Then she stepped back quickly. "You're a disaster," she muttered, but her cheeks had turned pink. "Clean that up. We open in an hour." The morning rush was chaos. I'd never worked in food service before, and it showed. I mixed up orders, forgot to write down names, and nearly gave someone decaf instead of their regular with extra espresso. "You know my order, dear." "I don't know your order," I said, frustrated. "That's because you're not listening," Kate said, swooping in to save me. "Mrs. Chen, I'm so sorry." "Here's your usual, on the house." Mrs. Chen patted my hand kindly. "Don't worry, dear. Everyone starts somewhere. Although," she looked at Kate with twinkling eyes, "he's awfully pretty to look at, even if he can't make coffee." Kate's face went scarlet. "Mrs. Chen!" The elderly woman just laughed and took her coffee to a corner table. By noon, my feet hurt, my back ached, and I'd gained a new appreciation for anyone who'd ever worked a service job. Kate made it look effortless, remembering everyone's names, their usual orders, asking about their families. She knew that Tom's daughter was applying to colleges, that Sarah's mother was recovering from surgery, that the Hendersons' grandson was visiting this weekend. She wasn't just serving coffee. She was the heartbeat of this community. During a brief lull, I collapsed onto a stool. How do you remember all of that? Remember what? Everyone's lives, their stories. Kate shrugged, refilling sugar dispensers. I pay attention. These people aren't just customers. They're neighbors, friends. They were here for me when my grandmother died. When I was drowning in medical bills and grief, they organized fundraisers, brought me casseroles, sat with me on the hard days. Her voice softened. You don't forget people who show up for you like that. I thought about my life in Manhattan. How many of my neighbors could I name? 0. How many would show up if I needed help? Also 0, because I'd never needed help, never let myself need anything from anyone. That must be nice, I said quietly. She looked at me strangely. You say that like you don't have it. I don't. The admission surprised me. I have business associates, employees, my mother who calls once a week out of obligation. But friends, people who actually know me? I laughed without humor. No. That's sad, Richard. The way she said my name, not Mr. Crawford, not with disdain, but with genuine sympathy, did something to my chest again. It's practical, I countered. Emotions complicate things. Emotions are what make us human. She set down the sugar dispenser. You know what I think? I think you're lonely. I think you've built this empire, but you're standing in it all by yourself. And you don't even realize how empty it is. You don't know anything about me. Don't I? She tilted her head. You came back here. Not to apologize. Not really. You came back because, for one moment in that Porsche, being rejected, you felt something real, and it terrified you. She was wrong. She had to be wrong, except she wasn't. You asked me yesterday why this place matters, Kate continued. It's not about the building or the business. It's about belonging. It's about being part of something bigger than yourself. That's what you saw here, and that's what you tried to buy, because you don't know how else to get it. I stood up, abruptly. I should get back to work. Richard, where do you want me? Dishes? Sweeping? She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. Dishes. Sinks in the back. I spent the rest of the afternoon elbow-deep in soapy water, scrubbing plates and cups, and trying not to think about how right she was. About how I'd spent years building walls so high that I'd forgotten what it felt like to let someone in. At closing time, Kate counted the register while I finished mopping the floor. I'd gotten better at it by the third try. "You survived day 1, she said, not looking up from her counting. "Barely. Same time tomorrow?" I should quit. This was insane. I had board meetings, property deals, an empire to run. What was I doing washing dishes in a small-town cafe for minimum wage? But then Kate looked up, and there was something in her eyes. A challenge, yes, but also curiosity. Like she was trying to figure me out as much as I was trying to figure her out. "Same time tomorrow," I agreed. As I drove back to the city, still wearing that ridiculous pink apron because I'd forgotten to take it off, I realized something terrifying. I was actually looking forward to it. Kate Brewster was going to be my undoing. The question was, did I want to stop it? By day 3, I'd learned to make a decent cappuccino and could recite half the regular orders from memory. I'd also learned that Kate hummed while she baked, that she had a weakness for terrible puns, and that when she was concentrating, she bit her lower lip in a way that was extremely distracting. "Earth to Richard," she said, waving a hand in front of my face. "Mrs. Henderson asked for her tea 3 times. Right, sorry." I grabbed the teapot, face heating. Kate smirked knowingly but said nothing. Things had shifted between us. The hostility had melted into something else. Banter, maybe even friendship. She still didn't trust me completely. I could see it in the way she watched me sometimes, like she was waiting for me to reveal my true nature. But there were moments when she laughed at something I said. Moments when our hands brushed reaching for the same cup. Moments when I caught her looking at me and she didn't look away immediately. Those moments were dangerous. I was in the back taking inventory when the bell chimed and Jennifer's voice rang out. "Richard, are you seriously working here?" I closed my eyes. No, not now. "I'm sorry, miss, but Richard doesn't—" Kate's voice stopped abruptly. "Wait, you know him?" I emerged from the back to find Jennifer standing in the middle of the cafe in her designer suit and stilettos, looking around like she'd landed on another planet. Several customers had stopped mid-conversation to stare. "Jennifer, what are you doing here?" "Saving you from yourself, apparently." She held up her tablet. "The Riverside deal is falling apart. Mr. Patterson wants to meet today, and your mother has called me 6 times asking where you are. She thinks you've been kidnapped." Kate's expression had gone carefully neutral. "Jennifer, your assistant?" "Executive assistant," Jennifer corrected automatically, then caught herself. "I mean, yes, I work for Richard." "Richard Crawford," Kate said slowly, her eyes moving from Jennifer to me. "CEO, real estate mogul, that Richard." "Kate, you lied to me." "I never lied. You never asked what I did." "Don't." Her voice was sharp. "Don't play semantic games. You came in here pretending to be— what? A normal person? Someone who actually cared about understanding this place?" "I do care. You're here doing research, aren't you? Learning our weaknesses so you can exploit them better." Her laugh was bitter. "God, I'm such an idiot. I actually thought—" She stopped herself, turning away. "You need to leave, both of you." "Kate, please listen." "Miss Brewster," Jennifer interrupted. "I don't know what's happening here, but Richard has responsibilities. Real responsibilities." "Real responsibilities," Kate repeated. "Right. Unlike my little cafe, my meaningless small-town life." "That's not what I meant." Jennifer looked at me helplessly. "Give us a minute," I told her. "Richard, the Patterson meeting—" I said give us a minute. I never yelled at Jennifer. She flinched, grabbed her tablet, and retreated to a corner table. The few customers in the shop had gone completely silent, watching the drama unfold. "Kate," I moved closer, but she stepped back. "Yes, I'm Richard Crawford. Yes, I run a real estate company, but everything else was real. The work, the conversations, getting to know you, that was all real." "Was it? Or was it just part of your strategy? Rich man slumming it in the poor town, learning how to manipulate us better." That's not fair. Fair? Her voice rose. You want to talk about fair? You came into my cafe and offered to destroy it. When I refused, you came back with some fake apology and convinced me to let you in. Into my business, into my community, into... She stopped, her eyes glistening. I let you in. The weight of those words hung between us. She'd let me in. Past her walls. And I'd been lying by omission the entire time. I'm sorry, I said quietly. You're right. I should have told you who I was from the beginning. Why didn't you? Because you already hated me. And for the first time in my life, I met someone who didn't care about my money or my name. You saw me, just me. And I wanted... What had I wanted? I wanted to be that person, the one you didn't hate. Well, congratulations. Now I hate you even more. But her voice cracked on the last word. Kate, Mr. Crawford. Her use of my formal name felt like a slap. Your assistant is waiting. You have real responsibilities, remember? Don't let me keep you. I looked at Jennifer, at the tablet with all my meetings and deals, at the life I'd built that suddenly felt hollow. Then back at Kate, her arms wrapped around herself like armor. The Patterson deal can wait. Richard, Jennifer started, everything can wait. I untied my apron and set it on the counter. Kate, I know you don't believe me right now, but I need you to understand something. This week, working here, talking with you, it's been the most real thing in my life in years, maybe ever. Pretty words from a rich man. I'm sure you have plenty of those. I'm not good with words. I'm good with actions. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. Kate watched warily. Mark, it's Richard. I need you to kill the Maplewood project. All of it. I don't care what we've invested. Pull out. Yes, I'm sure. I hung up and looked at Kate. There. No more development plans. No more buying up properties. Maplewood is safe. She stared at me. Why would you do that? Because you were right. About everything. I was going to destroy something beautiful because I couldn't see past the dollar signs. I picked up the apron again. I have 4 more days on our deal. If you'll still have me, I'd like to finish them. Not as research. Not as strategy, just as someone trying to learn how to be better. Kate looked at Jennifer, who shrugged helplessly, then back at me. This is insane. Completely. You're going to lose money, probably a lot. I have enough money. Your assistant thinks I've brainwashed you. Jennifer thinks a lot of things. I met her eyes. Kate, I can't undo showing up here originally with bad intentions, but I can promise that's not why I stayed. I stayed because of you. The silence stretched. Customers had given up pretending not to listen. Finally, Kate sighed. Put the apron back on. Those dishes aren't going to wash themselves. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're on bathroom cleaning duty for the rest of the week. Fair. As I headed to the back, I heard Mrs. Chen say loudly, Well, that was better than my soap operas. Kate's reluctant laugh followed me. Jennifer cornered me by the sink. Have you lost your mind? The Maplewood project was worth millions. I know. Then why? She looked toward the front where Kate was taking orders, then back at me. Oh no, Richard, please tell me you're not... Not what? Falling for her. The small-town cafe owner who threw water on you. Was I? The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like the first honest thing I'd admitted in years. Maybe I am, I said quietly. Jennifer groaned. Your mother is going to kill me. Get in line. I think Kate has first dibs. But as I washed dishes, and Kate pretended she wasn't watching me from the corner of her eye, I couldn't help but smile. Let them both try. I'd finally found something worth fighting for. Day 5 started with a disaster. I arrived at 6 to find Kate sitting on the floor of the kitchen, surrounded by water, her head in her hands. The main pipe under the sink had burst during the night, flooding half the cafe. Don't, she said when I opened my mouth. Don't say anything. I can't afford this. I can't afford any of this. I'd never seen her like this, defeated. It was wrong. Kate Brewster didn't do defeated. Let me help. With what? Money? She laughed bitterly. That's your solution to everything, isn't it? No. With my hands. I rolled up my sleeves. I'm surprisingly handy with plumbing. Learned it from my grandfather before he passed. She looked up, suspicious. You're serious? Dead serious. Do you have tools? 2 hours later, we'd fixed the pipe, mopped up the water, and saved what we could. We opened late, but we opened. Kate's regular customers understood, several even staying to help clean. I owe you one, Kate admitted as we worked side by side that afternoon. You don't owe me anything. Richard, she paused, seeming to struggle with something. I judged you. When Jennifer showed up, I assumed the worst. But you've been nothing but honest since then, more than honest. You gave up a multi-million-dollar deal. It was the right thing to do. Most people don't do the right thing when it costs them that much. She turned to face me fully. Why did you really come back here that second time? The truth. The truth. The truth was complicated and terrifying. Because you made me feel something, I admitted. When you threw that water on me, when you called me arrogant and told me I couldn't buy everything, you were right. But more than that, you saw through me. No one ever does that. They see the money, the success, the image. You saw the emptiness underneath. Richard, I'm not finished. I needed to get this out. My whole life, I've been taught that weakness is failure. My father died when I was 12, and my mother told me I had to be strong, had to be successful, had to never need anyone. So I built walls. I made millions. I dated women who wanted my name more than they wanted me. I told myself I was happy. Were you? No. The admission felt like a weight lifting. I was lonely, exactly like you said. And then I walked into this cafe, and you looked at me like I was just a man, not a bank account, not a trophy, just a man. A flawed, arrogant man who needed to be knocked down a peg. Kate's eyes had softened. And the bucket of water did that? The bucket of water woke me up. I stepped closer. Kate, I know I have no right to ask this, but... The door burst open. A woman in a pristine Chanel suit and perfectly coiffed blonde hair strode in, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. Richard James Crawford, what in God's name are you doing? I closed my eyes. Hello, Mother. Patricia Crawford surveyed the cafe with barely concealed horror. Her gaze landed on my apron, still pink, still ruffled, and her expression suggested she'd found me doing something far worse. Jennifer said you were here, but I didn't believe it. My son working in a, she gestured vaguely, diner. It's a cafe, Kate said coolly. And you are? My mother's eyes narrowed as she assessed Kate. The flour-stained apron, the messy hair, the complete lack of designer labels. I could see her dismissing Kate as unworthy in real time. I'm Patricia Crawford, Richard's mother. And you are? Kate Brewster, the owner of this diner. She emphasized the last word with a slight smile. How quaint. My mother turned to me. Richard, we need to talk. Privately. Anything you need to say, you can say in front of Kate. Fine. Patricia's voice could have frozen fire. The Patterson deal fell through because you disappeared. The Henderson merger is stalling because you're unreachable. And Vanessa called. Don't, I warned. She's worried about you. You two were so good together. We were never together. You pushed us together. There's a difference. She comes from a good family. She understands our world. Your world, I corrected. Not mine. Not anymore. My mother's composure cracked slightly. What has gotten into you? This isn't you. Maybe it should be. I gestured around the cafe. Look at this place, Mother. Really look. These people, they care about each other. They show up for each other. They have something real. When's the last time anyone in our circle had something real? Reality doesn't pay the bills, darling. No, but it fills the soul. Patricia's gaze shifted to Kate, and understanding, cold and calculating, dawned in her eyes. Oh, I see. This is about her. This is about me finally figuring out what matters. How long have you known my son, Miss Brewster? About a week, Kate answered, her chin raised defiantly. A week. My mother laughed. Richard, you can't be serious. A week? You've known Vanessa for 3 years. And I've never felt for Vanessa in 3 years what I feel for Kate after 1 week. The words were out before I could stop them. The silence was deafening. Kate stared at me, her cheeks flushing pink. My mother looked like I'd slapped her. You're infatuated, Patricia said finally. This is a phase, a rebellion. It's not... Richard. My mother's voice turned gentle, which was somehow worse. I understand. You're tired. You've been working too hard, but throwing away everything you've built for a... She looked at Kate. A fantasy? That's not the son I raised. Maybe the son you raised is the problem. Patricia flinched. For a moment, just a moment, I saw hurt in her eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by cool steel. I see. Well then, when this little adventure ends and you come back to reality, I hope there's something left to come back to. She turned on her heel and left, the door chiming violently behind her. Kate exhaled shakily. That was brutal. I'm sorry you had to see that. No, I mean, you stood up to her. For me. For this. She gestured around the cafe. Why? Because I meant what I said. I turned to face her fully. I know it's only been a week. I know it's insane. But Kate, I feel more myself here, with you, wearing this ridiculous apron and washing dishes, than I have in my entire adult life. She was close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes, could smell the vanilla from the morning's baking still clinging to her hair. Richard, The oven timer went off, shrill and insistent. Kate jumped back, laughing nervously. The muffins? Right. Of course. As she rushed to the oven, I stood there, my heart pounding. I'd almost kissed her. Would have kissed her, if not for the timer. And from the look on her face, she might have let me. Later, as we closed up, Kate touched my arm. What you said earlier, about feeling something after 1 week. I know it's too soon. Too fast. It is, she agreed. But, she bit her lip. That gesture that drove me crazy. I feel it too. Whatever this is. And it terrifies me. Me too. So what do we do? I don't know. I covered her hand with mine. But I want to find out. If you'll let me. She looked at our hands, then up at me. 2 more days on our deal. 2 more days, I agreed. But we both knew that 2 more days would never be enough. Not even close. Day 6 began differently. I arrived to find Kate standing outside, staring at an eviction notice taped to her door. 60 days, she said flatly when she saw me. The bank's foreclosing. I missed too many payments. My hands clenched. How much? Don't! She ripped the notice down. Don't you dare offer me money. I won't be your charity case. That's not... Kate, let me help. Help how? By buying the building? By swooping in like some white knight? She laughed bitterly. I saw your face just now. You already calculated exactly how to solve this, didn't you? That's what you do. You fix things with money. And she wasn't wrong. My mind had already run the numbers, planned the solution. Old habits. What if that's not what I want to do? I asked. Then what do you want? I want to stand here with you while you figure it out. I want to be someone you can lean on, not someone who takes over. She studied me for a long moment, then her shoulders sagged. I don't know how to fix this. I've tried everything. Extra hours, cutting costs. I even looked into selling my grandmother's wedding ring. Her voice broke. Without thinking, I pulled her into my arms. She resisted for half a second, then melted against me, her tears soaking into my shirt. "We'll figure something out," I murmured into her hair. "Together." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "You keep saying we, like you're planning to stick around after tomorrow. What if I am? Richard, I know what you're going to say. That this is crazy. That we barely know each other. That I have a life in Manhattan." I cupped her face gently. "But what if I don't want that life anymore? What if I want this one? You'd give up everything for a failing cafe in a small town." "No," I smiled. "I'd give up everything for you. The cafe is just a bonus." She laughed through her tears. "You're insane." "Completely." I wiped a tear from her cheek with my thumb. "But I've never been more sure of anything." The moment stretched between us, charged and fragile. This time, no timer interrupted. I leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Our first kiss was soft, tentative, a question and an answer. She tasted like coffee and hope and everything I'd been missing. When we finally broke apart, she was smiling. "That was... yeah," I agreed, grinning like an idiot. "We should probably..." She gestured vaguely at the cafe. "Open?" "Probably." Neither of us moved. The bell above the door chimed. We jumped apart like guilty teenagers. Mrs. Chen stood there, taking in our flushed faces with undisguised glee. "Don't mind me," she said, smirking. "Just getting my morning coffee. Continue." Kate's face turned bright red. "Mrs. Chen." "What? I've been waiting 6 days for this. We all have." She looked at me. "There's a betting pool, you know. Mrs. Henderson thought it would take a week. I said 5 days. Looks like she won." "There's a betting pool?" Kate asked weakly. "Dear, the whole town's been watching this romance unfold like a Hallmark movie. We're all invested now." After Mrs. Chen left, with free coffee and a promise to let the others know, Kate and I looked at each other and burst out laughing. "Small towns," she said, shaking her head. "I'm starting to like them." The day flew by in a blur of stolen glances and accidental touches. Everything felt different now, brighter, fuller. I caught myself humming while doing dishes. Kate kept smiling at nothing. We were disgustingly happy. At 3 o'clock, a black Mercedes pulled up outside. Kate stiffened. "Please tell me that's not Vanessa," I finished grimly. The woman who stepped out was everything my mother wanted. Polished, sophisticated, perfect, and absolutely wrong for me. "Richard!" Vanessa glided in, kissing my cheek before I could move. "Your mother said I'd find you here. I had to see it to believe it." "What do you want, Vanessa?" "To save you from this," she waved dismissively, "phase. Darling, whatever point you're trying to make, you've made it. Come home." "This is home," Vanessa laughed. "A coffee shop? Please? You're Richard Crawford. You belong in Manhattan at galas, making deals." "No," I interrupted. "That's who you want me to be. It's who I thought I had to be. But I belong here." Her eyes narrowed, landing on Kate. "With her? The small-town baker?" "Cafe owner," Kate corrected coolly. "And yes, with me." "How long do you think this will last?" Vanessa addressed Kate directly now. "A week? A month?" "Men like Richard don't stay in places like this. They get bored. They remember who they really are." "Maybe you never knew who he really was," Kate shot back. "I know he's worth $200 million. I know he has obligations, responsibilities. I know that whatever fantasy he's living here ends the moment reality hits." Vanessa turned to me. "The board called an emergency meeting. They're talking about removing you as CEO. Your disappearing act has consequences." The words hit like a punch. My company. Everything I'd built. "Let them," I said. Both women stared at me. "What?" Vanessa looked genuinely shocked. "If they want me gone because I took a week to figure out my life, then maybe I shouldn't be CEO." I moved to stand beside Kate. Some things are more important than a title. You're choosing her over your company? I'm choosing happiness over obligation. There's a difference. Vanessa's expression shifted from shock to pity. You really believe this will work? That you can just leave everything behind and play house in a small town? I believe I can try. Then you're more foolish than I thought. She grabbed her purse. When this falls apart, and it will, don't expect me to be waiting. I won't. After she left, silence filled the cafe. Kate's hand found mine. Did you mean that? She asked quietly. About your company? Every word. Richard, I can't let you throw away your entire life. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing. I turned to face her. Kate, I spent years building something that never made me happy. Now I have a chance to build something that does. With you. If you'll have me. This is insane. You keep saying that. Because it is. We've known each other for 6 days. 7 tomorrow. That's not funny. But she was smiling. Your life is in Manhattan. Your business, your home. I can work remotely. I can promote Jennifer to CEO. She'd be better at it anyway. I can sell the penthouse and buy something here. I squeezed her hand. The logistics are details. The real question is, do you want me to stay? She was quiet for so long my heart started to sink. Then she said, my cafe's being foreclosed. I'm drowning in debt. I work 16-hour days. I'm a mess. I know. And you still want to stay. Especially because of all that. Let me help carry the weight. Let me be your partner, not your savior. Partner, she repeated softly, then stronger. Okay. Okay? Stay. Her eyes met mine. I want you to stay. I kissed her again, deeper this time, pouring everything I felt into it. Around us, I heard applause. We broke apart to find the cafe had filled with regulars, all watching and clapping. About time! Someone shouted. Kate buried her face in my shoulder, laughing. I'm never going to live this down. Good thing I'm staying then. We'll face the embarrassment together. That night, as I drove back to Manhattan to pack up my life, my phone rang. Jennifer, please tell me you know what you're doing, she said without preamble. I have no idea. That's what I was afraid of. She sighed. For what it's worth, I've never seen you this happy. It's terrifying. Get used to it. I have a feeling terrifying is going to be my new normal. She must be something special. I thought of Kate's laugh, her determination, the way she saw straight through me to the person I wanted to be. She is, I said. She really is. Tomorrow was day 7, the last day of our deal. But really, it felt like the first day of something new, something real, something worth fighting for. Day 7 should have been perfect. Instead, it became the day everything fell apart. I arrived early with a plan. I'd spent the night reviewing Kate's financials. She'd finally shown them to me and found a solution. Not my money, but my connections. 3 investors I knew who specialized in revitalizing local businesses. They could provide capital. She'd maintain control. A real partnership. I was excited to tell her. Foolishly, stupidly excited. Kate was in the kitchen when I arrived, but she wasn't alone. Tom, the regular whose daughter was applying to colleges, stood with her, his face grave. Kate, I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Tom, please. He's buying up Main Street, Tom continued. The hardware store, the bookshop. He got to Jerry last night. Made him an offer he couldn't refuse. My blood ran cold. What? They both turned to me. Kate's face was pale. Tell me that's not true, she said quietly. Tell me you're not buying up the town. I'm not. I have no idea what he's talking about. Crawford Real Estate Holdings, Tom said, pulling out his phone. I looked it up. That's your company, isn't it? Yes, but... Understanding hit me like a truck. Jennifer. She must have restarted the project. Must have. Kate's voice was dangerously soft. You mean you don't know what your own company is doing? I told her to cancel it. I called my lawyer. Who works for you? Tom interrupted. Who does what you tell them? This whole week, were you just stalling? Keeping Kate distracted while your people worked behind the scenes? No, I would never. Kate, you have to believe me. But the look on her face said she didn't. Get out. Kate, please. Let me make some calls. I can fix this. Fix it. Her laugh was hollow. Like you were going to fix my cafe. With your investor friends and your connections. She pulled papers from her apron pocket. My notes, the ones I'd made last night. I found these in your jacket this morning. You went through my financials. You showed them to me. And you immediately started planning how to take over. Dress it up however you want, but that's what this is. You're a developer, Richard. It's what you do. You find something broken, and you rebuild it in your image. That's not what this is, isn't it? Tears glistened in her eyes. Tom's right. I've been so distracted by, she gestured between us, by whatever this is, that I didn't see it. You've been playing a long game. I love you. The words burst out of me, raw and desperate. I love you, Kate. Everything I've done this week, everything I've said, it's real. I'm not playing a game. She flinched like I'd hit her. Don't you dare use those words to manipulate me. I'm not Mr. Crawford. Her formality gutted me. Please leave my cafe. And take your investment plans with you. Kate, now, before I call the police. I looked at Tom, who crossed his arms and moved protectively closer to Kate. I looked at the kitchen where we'd laughed together, at the counter where we'd kissed, at Kate, whose walls were back up, higher than ever. I'll prove it to you, I said quietly. I'll prove that I'm not who you think I am. You already did, she whispered. That's the problem. Outside, I called Jennifer immediately. Tell me you didn't restart the Maplewood project. Silence. Then, Richard, the board was furious. They said if you wouldn't do your job, they'd do it for you. They voted to proceed without your approval. You should have called me. I tried. You weren't answering. You were too busy playing house to... She stopped. I'm sorry. That was unfair. Get me an emergency board meeting. Today. Now. Richard, now. Jennifer. 3 hours later, I sat in my Manhattan boardroom, facing 12 skeptical faces. Gentlemen, ladies, I began, I'm requesting an immediate halt to all Maplewood acquisitions. On what grounds? Robert Patterson, lead investor, leaned back. We've invested significant capital based on your initial proposal. We can't just walk away. I'm not asking you to walk away. I'm asking you to change the approach. Instead of demolition and development, what if we invested in revitalization? Support existing businesses, preserve the town's character. That doesn't make money, someone said. It makes sustainable money. Long-term community investment, tax incentives for historic preservation, tourism revenue. This is about that cafe owner, isn't it? Patricia's voice cut through the room. My mother sat at the far end, every inch the board member. The one who's turned my son into a sentimental fool. This is about doing business ethically. This is about you throwing away millions because a pretty girl smiled at you. She stood. Richard, I've watched you build this company from nothing. You've been ruthless, brilliant, unstoppable. Now you're asking us to abandon a profitable project for feelings. I'm asking you to build something meaningful instead of something that destroys communities. And if we refuse... I looked around the table, at these people I'd worked with for years. People who only understood profit margins and quarterly returns. Then I resign, effective immediately. Gasps around the table. My mother went white. You can't be serious, Patterson said. I've never been more serious. I stood. I spent 10 years building this company, and in 1 week, I learned more about what matters than I did in all that time. You want Maplewood? You'll have to buy me out, because I won't be part of destroying it. Richard, my mother started. I'm done, Mother. Done trying to be who you want me to be. Done sacrificing everything for a company that has no soul. I pulled off my tie. Jennifer will handle the transition. I'm going back to Maplewood. She won't take you back, my mother said coldly. I made some calls. She already knows about the acquisitions. She thinks you betrayed her. The words hit hard, but I kept my voice steady. Then I'll spend however long it takes proving I didn't. You're willing to give up everything, your company, your reputation, your fortune, for a woman who doesn't even trust you? Yes. The answer was simple, clear, right. Because she's worth more than all of it combined. I left the boardroom to chaos, voices arguing, my mother calling my name. I didn't look back. On the drive to Maplewood, I called Kate. Voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I texted, I quit. The company, the board, everything. The acquisitions will stop. Please let me explain. No response. When I pulled up to Sweet Moments at 8 p.m., the lights were off. A note was taped to the door in Kate's handwriting. Closed until further notice. My heart sank. Mrs. Chen appeared beside me like a ghost. She left, dear. Packed a bag about an hour ago. Left? Where? Didn't say, but she was crying. Mrs. Chen patted my arm. She's scared, that boy. Scared of losing everything. Scared of trusting you and being wrong. Scared of loving you and getting hurt. She loves me? Of course she does. Why else would this hurt so much? The old woman sighed. Question is, what are you going to do about it? I looked at the darkened cafe, at the town I'd almost destroyed, at the ruins of the only real thing I'd ever had. I'm going to find her, I said. And I'm going to fight. For her, for this town, for us. I'm not walking away. Good. Mrs. Chen smiled. She's at her grandmother's cabin, about 30 miles north. I'll text you the address. Why are you helping me? Because I've been married for 52 years and I know what real love looks like. She poked my chest. That girl in there? The one who threw water on you? She saw who you really are before you saw it yourself. Don't let her go. I won't. As I drove into the night, following the GPS to an unknown cabin, I realized something. I'd spent my whole life building walls and empires. Now I was tearing them all down for one woman who'd shown me what it meant to be real. And I'd do it again, 1,000 times over, if she'd just give me one more chance. The cabin was dark, except for a single light in the window. I sat in the car for a moment, gathering courage. What if she wouldn't listen? What if I'd destroyed everything beyond repair? Only one way to find out. I knocked softly. Silence. Then footsteps. The door opened. Kate stood there in sweatpants and one of her grandmother's old sweaters, eyes red from crying. When she saw me, her face crumpled. How did you, Mrs. Chen? She answered herself. Of course. Can I come in? She hesitated, then stepped aside. The cabin was small and cozy, filled with photos of Kate and her grandmother. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace. It felt like a home, warm and lived in. Everything my penthouse had never been. You shouldn't have come, Kate said, arms wrapped around herself. I had to. Kate, please listen. I can't do this, Richard. I can't keep believing in you and getting hurt. Then don't believe in me. Believe in the facts. I pulled out my phone, showed her the resignation letter I'd sent. I quit. The company, the board, everything. She read it, her expression unreadable. You quit your company. I did more than quit. I forced them to halt all Maplewood acquisitions. They either stop or I sell my shares to a competitor. I stepped closer. Kate, I didn't know what Jennifer and the board were doing. The moment I found out, I drove to Manhattan and ended it, all of it. Why? Because you were right. About everything. I was so focused on building an empire that I forgot to build a life. My voice cracked. You showed me what I was missing. Community, connection, love. Real, terrifying, messy love. Tears streamed down her face. You said you loved me. I do. I know it's been a week. I know it's insane. But Kate, I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I love you. I love your stubbornness and your passion, and the way you see the best in everyone. I love that you threw water on me when I deserved it. I love that you made me want to be better. Richard, I'm not finished. I dropped to my knees in front of her. I don't have a plan. I don't have a company. I have some money saved, but I'm not who I was when I walked into your cafe 7 days ago. I'm just a man who's completely hopelessly in love with you. And if you give me a chance, just one more chance, I'll spend every day proving that I'm worth the risk. She was sobbing now, hands covering her face. You're an idiot. I know. You gave up everything. Not everything. I kept what mattered. Your mother's going to kill you. Probably. I reached up, gently pulling her hands from her face. But I'd rather have a life with you than an empire without you. What about my cafe? The foreclosure? I'm still broke, Richard. I can't save it. Then we'll figure it out. Together. I stood, cupping her face in my hands. Maybe we lose the cafe. Maybe we have to start over. But we do it as partners, as equals. I'm not your savior, Kate. I'm just the guy who's hoping you'll let him stand beside you while you save yourself. She laughed through her tears. You really mean all of this? Every word. You're going to get bored. Small-town life, no company to run. I could never be bored with you. I smiled. Besides, I've been thinking. What if instead of one cafe we expanded? A franchise, maybe. Sweet Moments locations in small towns across America. You'd control everything. The recipes, the culture, the mission. I'd handle the business side. We preserve what makes places special instead of destroying them. Her eyes widened. That's brilliant. I have my moments. I brushed a tear from her cheek. But only if you want it. This is your dream, Kate. I'm just hoping you'll let me help you dream bigger. I'm terrified, she whispered. Me too. What if we fail? Then we fail together. I rested my forehead against hers. Kate Brewster, I can't promise you perfection. I can't promise I won't mess up or that this will be easy. But I can promise that I will show up. Every day. For you. For us. For whatever we build together. I'm all in. The question is, are you? She pulled back to look at me, her green eyes searching mine. Whatever she saw there must have convinced her, because she smiled. That brilliant, genuine smile that had first made me stop my Porsche and get out. Yes, she breathed. Yes, I'm all in. I kissed her then, pouring everything into it. Love, relief, promise, hope. She kissed me back just as fiercely, her hands tangling in my hair. When we finally broke apart, I was grinning like an idiot. So, what now? Now? She laughed. Now we go home, to Maplewood, and we save a cafe. Together? Together. 2 years later, I woke up to the smell of fresh coffee and vanilla muffins, the best alarm clock in the world. Kate was already in the kitchen of our apartment above Sweet Moments, dancing to music only she could hear as she tested a new recipe. She was wearing my old college t-shirt and had flour in her hair. She'd never looked more beautiful. Morning, I said, wrapping my arms around her from behind. Morning yourself. She turned in my arms, kissing me softly. Try this. She held up a muffin. I took a bite and moaned. That's incredible. It's for the Boston location. They wanted something with cranberries. Boston, one of 12 Sweet Moments locations now operating across 6 states. Kate had been right to be nervous. The expansion had been challenging, exhausting, sometimes overwhelming. But we'd done it together. We'd saved the original cafe with a combination of community fundraising. The town had rallied hard. A small business grant I'd helped her apply for, and eventually the profits from our first 3 franchise locations. Kate owned the business outright. I was just the consultant she occasionally let make suggestions. Occasionally. The Seattle investors called, I said, pouring coffee. They want to talk about West Coast expansion. What do you think? I think it's your decision, but I think you're ready. She bit her lip, that gesture that still drove me crazy. Okay, set up the meeting. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Lunch today, please? Patricia and I had slowly, painfully rebuilt our relationship. She'd never apologized for pushing me, but she'd admitted, once, grudgingly, that I seemed happier. She'd even visited Maplewood twice, though she refused to drink coffee from anything but her personal travel mug. Baby steps. Your mom? Kate asked, reading my expression. Yeah, lunch. Tell her I said hi. Kate had an amused tolerance for Patricia's icy politeness. And remind her about Thanksgiving. She promised to come. She'll come. She doesn't want to miss... I paused, dramatic. The announcement. Kate's hand went instinctively to her still, flat stomach. We said we weren't telling anyone yet. I know, but come on. You think Mrs. Chen hasn't already figured it out? Or Tom? Or literally anyone in this town? She laughed. Fair point. 3 months pregnant. We'd found out last week and had been walking on clouds ever since. Terrified, excited clouds. The bell chimed downstairs, our first customer of the day. Kate grabbed her apron. Ready? She asked. I looked at this woman who'd changed my entire life with a bucket of water and fierce green eyes. Who'd seen past my money to the lonely man underneath. Who'd taught me that success wasn't measured in dollars, but in connections, in community, in love. Ready, I said. We walked downstairs together, hand in hand. The cafe was already filling with familiar faces. Mrs. Chen, Tom, Mrs. Henderson, new customers who'd become friends, the heart of Maplewood beating strong and steady. Kate tied on her apron and turned to me with that mischievous smile I loved. Think you can handle the morning rush, Mr. Crawford? With you, I can handle anything, Mrs. Crawford to be. She flushed. We'd gotten engaged 2 months ago, simple proposal, perfect ring. The wedding was planned for spring in the town square. The whole town was invited. As I took my place behind the counter, Kate beside me, our future stretching bright and full of possibility ahead, I thought about that Tuesday 2 years ago, when I'd driven to Maplewood planning to destroy something beautiful. Instead, something beautiful had saved me. Best. Bucket of water. Ever. The end.